Scholarships for educators. Is your student considering a career path in education or becoming a teacher? If so, the good news is that there are tons of money sources out there for them. In fact, I would say that if we were to look at scholarships for a specific career path, teaching is probably one of the biggest ones because we know salaries for teachers are not the largest. And so trying to avoid debt is extremely important. And yet we also need to recruit teachers. We need to incentivize students to become educators. So that is why a lot of sources have pulled money together to help students that are pursuing a degree in education. So in today's video, I want to share some of my favorite scholarships for educators. Now make sure you hit subscribe because every week I release a new strategy to help your family work towards a debt-free degree. Hey there, my name is Jocelyn Pearson, founder of the Scholarship System, where we redefine paying for college to help families build strong financial futures rather than ones buried in debt. And so securing scholarships is a huge piece of this. In fact, our families have received well over $10.5 million as of almost a year ago. We're about to do our new tally, and I can't wait to get that new number. But that said, we've seen a lot of scholarships when it comes to education. Now, just a quick note, this is focused on U.S. citizens and or residents of the United States. So scholarships for aspiring teachers, for educators, this is important because it's designed to help make that career path more affordable. So again, we know that the salaries can be limited in the education field. And so having a huge burden of student loan debt is extremely detrimental when the ROI, when the salary is smaller, right? So we can only afford so much on a smaller salary. Therefore, we need to minimize that student loan debt as much as possible. And so that is why organizations, states, governments have created sources of funds specific to teachers. Now, not only do they have scholarships for students that want to become a teacher, but they may also have some sort of agreement where debt can be forgiven. So I'll share more about that also towards the end of today's video. Now, there are a few different categories of scholarships for teachers. Some are focused around the bachelor's degree. So it's for students that are pursuing that bachelor's degree in something that leads to teaching. There are also master's degrees where it helps teachers get their master's degree or can help make a doctorate more affordable. So there's really a lot of funding out there for both levels, which is great news, especially for those who want to continue their education after they do become a teacher. Now, just remember that specific scholarships for the career path or for the major, for example, education or becoming a teacher, that is a great place to start, but there are so many other categories that we can also look at. So before I share my favorite scholarships, I do just want to say, make sure that you're looking at other categories in addition to this once you've found all the education-based scholarships. And if you need help finding those, join me in my free training. You should find the link somewhere here on the screen. You can register there, or you can go to the link in the description or go to thescholarshipsystem.com/free training. But that is about a 1-hour training, and I will show you exactly how to do some searches to find extra scholarships beyond this. So how can future educators, how can students pursuing a degree in education apply for money? So this application process, it will vary from one application to the next. It'll vary by one source to the next. Like I mentioned, they can come from state governments, they can come from federal governments, they can come from state organizations, they could come from private organizations. So there's a lot of different avenues as far as finding scholarships, even if they are all for that career path. So that said, there will also be varying application requirements. Scholarships can require the student to submit FAFSA. They might have to submit transcripts, prove their GPA, their curriculum. They may have to write essays. They might even have to interview for scholarships. If so, we have an entire YouTube video on how to interview for scholarships. We have YouTube videos really on all of these different criteria. So there's a lot of different things. They might require recommendation letters, resumes, cover letters, lots of different types of criteria. But I will say that a lot of times When it's through the state, then it's more about proving the chosen major and submitting FAFSA. But that said, you always want to talk to the guidance counselor, do a little bit of research on your own, and make sure that you and your student know what the criteria are so that you don't miss out on it. Okay, so I want to share 3 specific scholarships that are my favorites, but I will say that many states and institutions have their own scholarship or grant system for students pursuing education. For example, one is called the TEACH grant. So it's TEACH, all in capital letters. So looking into those state-based ones are certainly the lowest hanging fruit. Sometimes they will require students to stay in that state in order to receive the money. For maybe they require them to stay for 2 years or 5 years. So there may be some stipulations on it. There could also be maybe they have to educate in a low income area for a certain amount of time in order to receive the money, or they would receive the money and they'd have to pay it back if they didn't meet the criteria. I've also seen the other side of it where they take out the student loans, but as long as they teach in, say, a low income area for at least X years, their loans are forgiven. So that's another way that the states don't necessarily give the money, but they will forgive the debt if a student meets the certain criteria. Okay, let's get into 3 quick scholarships specifically. One last resource before I mention them is that we do have actually a blog post with 38 scholarships for educators. Again, all these important links I will link to in the description below. So the first one is actually from the Association of Food and Drug Officials, so AFDO. And these have 3 scholarship awards worth $2,500 each. And that's at the time of recording this. They might change the dollar amounts in the future, but this is a pretty big organization, so I don't expect them to stop offering the scholarship itself. Now, this is a little bit unique. So this one, the recipients should have demonstrated a desire to serve in a career of research, regulatory work, quality control, or teaching in an area that has to do with food, which makes sense based on the organization's name. So food, drugs, or some kind of consumer product safety. So if they want to go into that kind of field, then this might be for them. Now, it's interesting because this scholarship proves my point about it's never too late, because it actually requires students to be in their 3rd year of undergraduate study or later and have a 3.0. But that's a perfect example where they want to make sure that the student is actually pursuing a career path in that area and taking the classes to get there versus, say, just a high school student that really isn't certain what they want to do. So that's why they put an older age requirement or class rank requirement on the scholarship. Now, another one, and I have this one written down because it's a little long, but it's called the ARFORA, ARFORA scholarship. It's the Arfora Helen Muntian Education Scholarship for Women. So this is, of course, focused around women, but it's $1,000 that can be awarded annually to women working in the career of teaching. So when we're talking about annually, that means typically that as long as a student is continuing to meet the criteria, they will automatically get the money every single year. So winning $1,000 is actually like winning $4,000. Now, these scholarships are based on scholastic achievement, character worthiness. It actually also is around participation in religious life. Now, this one is specific to students that are in Romanian Orthodox Church. So it does have a religious aspect to it. Also, it does require a student who has completed the 1st year of college. So again, we're looking at upperclassmen here. Now, here is another example, and this is for students that are specific to the New York City public schools, but this is the Albert Schenker College Scholarship Fund of the United Federation of Teachers. So another long name. But each year they give out over $1 million in scholarships towards students that have academic excellence and also are financially eligible. So probably not necessarily low income, but certainly have a financial need and are focused, they're from the New York City area. Now, again, these were pretty specific. I just wanted to show really the variety of categories that students can receive scholarships for education, but we do have that list of 38 scholarships for educators, so please check that out. You'll find the link to that in the description below. And for students who feel that they are being called to pursue an education, a career in education, it is a very needed area. Educators are so important to everyone, our children, our country, etc. So that is fantastic, and all the more reason that you deserve a debt-free degree. So please take advantage of these state scholarships, and don't forget about that free training where I give you even more ideas on other categories, other topics that can warrant scholarship money as well. So always make sure that we check for our major, our career path with our students, but also we want to think beyond that box, and that's where that free training can help. And then lastly, don't forget to hit subscribe, because every week we release a new strategy in addition to scholarships to help your student work towards that debt-free degree. All right, I'll see you in the next video.